Hi, this is Mrs. Rutherford. Today I'm going to do 3 of the test review questions for graphing trig functions. First, number 3, we are given this equation and we need to graph it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do my mapping, my midline, my amplitude, my period, and my interval. M is my midline, which is also my vertical translation, and that is going to be right here, and so that is going to be -3. My amplitude is always positive, and that's my A value, which is right here, so it's going to be 2. Then my period. Again, this is not my period. However, it helps me find my period. So I have my equation 2 pi divided by B, and that will give you my period. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 2 pi over 1 divided by 1 over 4. To divide by fractions, I need to multiply by the reciprocal. Remember, dividing fractions is as easy as pi. Take the second, flip the second, and multiply. So I'm going to flip it to make it 4 over 1. When I multiply fractions, it's top times the top, bottom times the bottom. 4 pi times 4 is going to give me 8 pi. And 1 times 1 is going to give me 1. So 8 pi over 1 is going to equal 8 pi. And then to find the interval, remember I divide my period by 4. So here's 8 pi divided by 4, which is going to give me 2 pi. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my x and y axis. Okay, now what I need to do is I have something right here. This is going to be my horizontal shift or my horizontal translation. So I need to draw what is going to be my new x-axis. So here is my new y-axis, and this is going to be 10 pi. Okay, so now let's find where my midline is. That's at -3. So you can go down here to -3. Okay, my amplitude is 2, so -3 plus 2 will get me at -1. Then going down 2 will get me at -5. Hopefully yours looks a little bit more even than mine. Okay, remember what my amplitude is saying. This right here, my 2, is it's telling me that the distance between my midline and my top line is going to be 2, and the distance between my midline and my bottom line is going to be 2. That's how I found my number, -1 and -5. Okay, now I need to look at what my interval says so I can find out how to split up my graph. Now remember, we're going to put 5 dots, which means we need 5 lines. Well, this one's my first one right here. It's going to be on my new y. And then my end, that's already 2 out of the 5. I need to split those in half, then split them in half again. Now I have 5 lines for my 5 dots. Remember to also put your lines, your intervals, on your midline. This way you don't make any mistakes. If you put it up here on your x-axis, you might accidentally put your dots up here on the x-axis, and they need to stay on your midline. Okay, so if I start at 10 pi, so right here is going to be 10 pi. Well, then I need to take 10 pi and add my interval. What I'm going to do each time is I'm going to add 2 pi. It's telling me the distance between my first line and my second line is going to be 2 pi. The distance from my second line to my third line is going to be 2 pi. The distance from my third to my fourth is going to be 2 pi. And then the distance from my fourth to my last one is going to be 2 pi. So what I'm going to do is if I start at 10 pi, I'm going to have 10 pi, and I'm going to add my interval, which is 2 pi. 10 pi plus 2 pi is going to give me 12 pi. Sorry, I'm struggling with the mouse today. So right here is going to be 12 pi. Now I take this line and I'm going to add my 2 pi again. So 12 pi plus 2 pi is going to give me 14 pi. So I'm going to have 14 pi right here. If I do 14 pi plus 2 pi, I'm going to get 16 pi. And then if I have 16 pi plus 2 pi, I get 18 pi. Now, with the period, some of you guys are getting confused. You assume, let me change this color up a little bit. You assume that since the period says 8 pi, that my last bar needs to be 8 pi. That is not true. Okay, because it is 8 pi, that means my entire thing needs to be a distance of 8 pi. Well, the way to check that, I start at 10 pi plus my 8 pi gives me 18 pi. Is 18 pi the number I want? Yes, so I've done it correctly so far. Okay, now some of this is a little hard to see, so I'm going to go back over in black on my 5 lines I want. Right here, 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 16 pi, and 18 pi. Now, this is a negative cosine. Okay, so if it was regularly cosine, I would start at my tallest point, my highest point. But since it is a negative, I'm going to start at my minimum, at my lowest point. And it's going to be at my first interval. It's lined up with my black line. It's my first dot. Then I go to my midline, which is on my interval. Then I go up to my high point, which is in line with my interval. Then I'm going to go back to my midline, and then back to the lowest. But make sure that it's on my minimum and in line with my interval. In case you can't see these dots, put them right here. Now what I have to do is I have to connect it. What some of you are doing is you are connecting it and making it a big U. That is not correct. Okay, remember, from my bottom part it's going to look like a valley. Then for my top part it will be a mountain, then a valley. Okay, this is how some of you guys are messing up on your project, is you see these lines and you think that it could just be a cosine by making a giant U. It does not work like that. Remember, it looks like a valley into a mountain. Please be careful while you are making your graphs. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do the next one, number 5. I'm not going to go into as much detail on this one. We're going to go faster. My midline, I'm not adding or subtracting anything outside the parentheses or at the beginning of the equation. So that is going to be 0. My amplitude is going to be the number in front right here, and that's going to be a 2. My period, remember, that is going to be 2 pi divided by b, which means I'm going to get 2 pi over 1 divided by pi over 2. It says dividing fractions is as easy as pi. Take the second, flip the second, and multiply. So I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to get 2 over pi. And then I'm going to get 4 pi over pi, which equals 4 pi over pi, which is going to equal 4. And then my interval is going to be 4 divided by 4. So I'm going to take my period, divide it by 4, and I get 1. Horizontal translation, it's right here. Remember, I had over, it is the opposite, so it is just going to be a positive 3, or also known as to the right 3. Okay, so first thing I need to do is I need to do my x and y axes. Let's redo that. Okay, now I'm going to do my horizontal line. That one we are going to change colors. Okay, and it said to the right 3. So 1, 2, 3. We're going to estimate that that is at 3. Now my midline is at 0, so I'm just going to keep using the x-axis. Then my amplitude is 2, so 0 plus 2 is going to give me 2, and 0 minus 2 is going to give me negative 2. Don't forget to do your dashes. It will help you when it comes time to graph. Okay, intervals are 1. Well, that makes it pretty easy. That means I'm going to start at 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. Wait, let me draw my lines. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. I'm going to double check that all of this is equal to my period of 4. 3 plus 4 does equal 7. So that is correct. Now I'm going to point my dots, my points. So if I have a sine graph, that means I'm going to start at my midline. So my first interval, I start at my midline. Since it's positive, I'm going to go up to my highest, which is in line with my interval, then down to my midline again, now to my lowest, which is in line with my interval, and then back to the middle. My first half is going to be my mountain, and then it turns into my valley. And that is your sine graph. Okay? Now we are going to go backwards. So first I need to find my midline. To do that, if my top is at 8, my bottom is at -2, my total distance is 10. Half of 10 is 5. So that means I'm going to start from the bottom and count up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be my midline. My amplitude is the distance right here. So 3 to 8 is going to be 5 spaces. So my amplitude is 5. My period. To find my period, what I need to do is I need to find a good starting point. So what I'm going to do is I want my graph to start here because I can tell exactly what spot that's at. So that is going to be a negative cosine, going to go up and then back down and end here. So my period is going to be pi. Well, to find my equations here, I need to find what my b equals. So if it's 2 pi divided by b is going to give me my period, that means it's also going to get me my pi. So now what I need to do is I need to multiply both sides by b. Those cancel out. I get 2 pi equals b times pi. So now I need to divide pi by both sides. Well, 2 pi divided by pi is going to give me 2. So my b is going to equal 2. Now for my equation, possible cosine, I'm going to start with my negative cosine. Now I'm going to enter my a value. My a value is my 5. My b value is 2, parentheses, x. Now, do I have a horizontal shift? No, I'm starting at the y-axis, so it's going to be x minus 0, or I can just leave it at x. And then I have a vertical shift, and that is my amplitude. That is my midline, so plus 3. And that is going to be your cosine. Go ahead and pause it and try to do your sine on your by yourself. Okay, as you can see, the only thing that is different right here is your pi divided by 4. It is my horizontal shift, which makes me start right here. Now we did have to estimate, so we picked in between 0 and pi.